Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for live stream number 5 and the final week of the Mobile on Air series. My name is Olga, joining from London today, and I will be your moderator. You might remember me from last week. Craig, Anna, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I hope our audience enjoyed it as well and has a lot of questions to ask. Guys, please drop them below the video in the question box. We have 4 authors that contributed to our latest ebook, Progressive Web Apps, Superpowers of the Web and App Combined, with us today. Craig, do you mind saying hi to our audience who by now should know you pretty well, and say where you are dialing in from? It looks pretty sunny. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm back. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I am dialing in from beautifully sunny Dublin. You can see all of the rays beaming in on me. It's very enjoyable. So look forward to answering your questions. Now you're on mute, Olga.
Great. Thank you, Craig. And Anna, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching our videos. We are looking forward to the live Q&A session right now. I am joining from beautiful and sunny Dublin as well. May this very thick curtain not mislead you, and a really awesome curtain, as we have learned from the feedback coming on these webinars.
Okay, great. And we have a couple of new faces with us today. Daniil, do you mind introducing yourself and saying where you are dialing in from today and what kind of questions you might answer?
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniil. I'm a mobile technology specialist working for the Russian market. I'm dialing in from Moscow. It's not as sunny as Dublin, and it's actually pretty cold. It's freezing, and let's hope it's not going to start snowing. I'm happy to answer generally product questions and sometimes technical questions when it comes to these things.
Well, we hope the weather turns better over there. And we have Martin with us today. Martin, do you mind introducing yourself and saying where you are dialing in from?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. My name is Martin. I'm a technical solution consultant. I'm working from our Munich office. So I'm happy to take all kinds of technical questions. And the weather here in Munich is beautiful and sunny.
Great to hear that. So we have a pretty international crew here today. Guys, we would love to know where you are dialing in from. Please drop your countries or cities where you're joining us from below the video. It will be very interesting for us to see. And don't forget to submit your questions, of course, as well. And I also want to remind that we have a little surprise activity for you in the end of this live Q&A. So please stay tuned. And now over to the questions. We had a few questions pre-submitted through the registration form. So we'll start from those and then we'll move on to the live questions. So one question that came in was to explain the difference between progressive web apps and natively made apps. Martin, are you happy to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. So obviously you have native apps, and you now know everything about PWAs, progressive web apps as well. So regarding the differences, in general, there are like 2 different kind of perspectives here. From a user perspective, I would say if the PWA is well built, it should feel, behave, look like exactly like a native app. Like a user should never see or even know the difference, right? For them, it's an installed app. It should work all right. For the developers, however, it's a bit different. So while the native apps are normally implemented in Objective-C or Swift or Java and Android Studio or whatever, the PWA is basically a website on steroids or whatever, right? So you would implement it with JavaScript, HTML, CSS as usual. Normally, you would obviously use your regular website and just like progressively add these PWA features. So you wouldn't develop it from scratch as a native app. Yeah, so the development process is different. For the users, it should be pretty much the same, hopefully.
Okay, that's great to hear. And another question that came in was on what are the disadvantages of PWA. Daniil, are you happy to take that question?
Sure. Well, I wouldn't say disadvantages. If it's a question of technical implementation, I would say certain limitations on iOS and cross-browser support still exist. If it's a matter of business perspective, then the question that seems to be get most attention is native apps versus PWAs. And there I would say it's really all down to individual businesses to figure it all out. What would be most beneficial to them and to their users.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel. And now over to the live questions. We had a question from Ishan coming in. What's the relation of mobile on air with digital marketing? So sorry, guys, I think I'll take that one since I'm a digital marketer among this crew. So Ishan, as digital marketers, we invest a lot in creatives, in setting up the best campaigns, and optimizing our ads so they drive relevant users and relevant traffic to our assets, be it apps or web. But if the apps or web themselves provide bad experience, it means that your digital campaigns are not performing to their best ROI. So we believe that digital marketers should always kind of interact and hold hands with designer and developer team to understand and improve the user experience and make sure it's like the best user experience you can provide from the moment people see your ad to the moment they come to your landing page to the moment they actually purchase and become your loyal customer. So that's why we think mobile on air is talking about the assets, everything that kind of happens post the tap on an ad. But it is very relevant for digital marketers as well. But if you're interested in more digital marketing content, there are some other events, and we'll point you to some of those at the end of this live Q&A. And we had another question coming in from Richard. We've seen that PWAs often break in-app browsers like the Facebook mobile browser. This makes UI on PWAs very tricky. Facebook ads won't allow PWA install. Martin, are you happy to take that question?
Sure, yeah. That sounds a little bit like there are two different issues in that. So let me answer the first one about that regarding web views and Facebook app. So in fact, there was an issue, I think like a year ago, where there was a problem with the service worker which had which broke the website in the Facebook web view. So there was an incident like that. But for all I know, and that's the other side of that, I think that's like the only one I'm aware of. So I don't think these problems happen more often. At least I'm not aware of it in all the like 5 years I'm working with PWA. So if you feel it's happening more often, please let us know, or add maybe a follow-up question. But I think there was one isolated incident, and as soon as we got aware of it, I think it was fixed pretty fast. The other thing about that is obviously that bugs can always happen, right? It's a shame, but it can happen, right? So it could also happen the same with native apps in many ways, right? And obviously, if the web view is buggy, it could also hit like regular websites without being a PWA. So I don't think this is something which is special for PWA. There was just a bug, it was raised, and it got fixed quickly. And I don't think it happens very often. On the contrary, I would say that the PWA stuff is pretty mature. Like the web standard is around for a long time. The Chrome implementation is around for many years now. So I would, on the contrary, think it's a very stable and solid technology at that point. Okay. Regarding the second part of the question, I'm not completely sure what is meant here. Probably the question here is about if you click a Facebook ad and again the PWA opens in the web view, that there's no add to home screen button, probably that you can't install it. I'm not completely sure about that one. If that is the question, I think that is intended from our side. So some of the PWA functionalities are not working in web views because they are supposed to be more done in the native app part. So I think this is intended, and that has good reasons for it. But if you feel otherwise, feel free to file a bug on the Chromium bug tracker and let us know.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Richard, yes, please follow up if there are more questions on that topic, but hope Martin addressed it. And I see that people are submitting their countries they're dialing in from. We have listeners from Dublin, Belgium, Portugal, sunny Bulgaria, and India. Great, guys. Please let us know if there are more people from different countries and cities. That's very interesting for us to know. And in the meantime, there was another live question submitted from Anders. When running an app campaign from Google Ads to Twitter Ads, what are the options to tie the campaign name and details with an actual user who downloaded in the CRM? So Anders, unfortunately, we have our PWA and web specialist today, not the app campaign specialist, but let me follow up with Tamim and Chris from week 3 and make sure we respond to your question in the comments. And another question came from Robin. If I don't choose to add to home screen, am I still using it as PWA? Craig, are you happy to take that one?
Yes, very happy. Yes, you are. So one of the beauties of PWAs is you don't have to install them. They're exactly the same website whether you have it installed or not. Well, exactly, more or less. So if I'm a PWA user, I have it installed and I choose to share a link with you, you can click on that URL and open it straight away. Installability is just one of the capabilities of progressive web apps. It's one of the most powerful, but it's just one of them. Everything that you can access in the PWA should be available whether you have it installed or not. Only really difference is when you're installed, it's on your home screen, you get a full screen UI. But yes, it's a progressive web app.
Okay, great. Thanks, Craig. Guys, if you have any more questions, please drop them below the video since we have our specialist on PWAs here, and we know it's a hot topic from previous weeks. In the meantime, another question. What are the best practices for push notifications? Anna, are you happy to take that one? I think it sounds more of a UX question.
Yeah. Thanks, Anna. So maybe I should start that we have a whole chapter on the push notifications in the ebook, so that's another good reason to download the ebook or install it as a PWA or just have a read. And basically what we're saying there is that let's break it down into the notifications prompt, also the notification strategy and notifications design. So regarding the prompt, the way you prompt users to sign up for any notifications, the considerations are more or less the same as for install prompt, right? What I presented before. So the prompt should appear where appropriate at the right moment in the user journey. It should look and feel native to the UI as if it's part of the site. And it should contain some value proposition. So why exactly people should be signing up for notifications. And of course, you customize that value prop depending on where the user is in the journey, right? So just really the same best practices regarding install prompt are applicable for notifications prompt. Regarding the strategy, it's kind of this framework of all notifications have to be first timely, second precise, and third relevant. So timely, that means that they should matter in the specific moment for the user. And then precise, it should contain the information that is relevant, that is good to know to the user or act upon. And then relevant, it should be something personal, so that matters specifically to that user, okay? And yeah, regarding the notifications design, it's also kind of three things. It's the copy, what exactly text you can afford to have in the notifications, so you consider that. As in icons, right? So how we can illustrate message coming in the notification. You can use the icon of the app itself, or maybe icons illustrating actions. And actions is the third thing. So can I act on this information or not? So have a look in our chapter once again. We have a few more good best practices around those things. And yeah, so we're really looking forward to see great notifications on the web.
Okay, great. And I think we have a follow-up from Richard. He's saying that install promo and notifications prompts are not allowed. Martin, could you address that, please?
Yeah, I would need to look up the exact reasons, but that's basically what I mentioned before, that some features we intentionally disabled in web views, right? Because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in a application context. Like you are within a Facebook app, you open like a landing page, a website within the Facebook app, and it asks you for notifications, might feel really weird for the user, right? That might even trigger malicious use cases and so on. So I would need to look up the exact reasons, but I believe we had good product reasons why we disabled some of these things within app context, right? So as said before, like if you feel differently about that, feel free to get a discussion started. If you file on Chromium bug tracker, right, our PMs and Eng will probably chime in, but I think there were legitimate reasons why we did block some of these.
Okay, thank you, Martin, for the response. And we have another question from Milan. Can you give some suggestion for e-commerce companies that already have mobile website with AMP implemented and native iOS and Android apps as well? Do they need PWA too? Daniil, are you happy to address that?
Sure. I wouldn't really give any particular examples. I mean, there are quite a few, and there are quite a few published cases that address this. But I would say this really depends on a particular business case. For example, a PWA can can give you, let's say, a kind of like a light version, or maybe improve web experience of your users. So if you're looking to, for example, expand into emerging markets where there is high prevalence of low-end devices, it might be so that you might want to consider a kind of like a light PWA-based version of your app, even if you have a native one.
Okay, great. Thank you for your response, Daniil. And we have a few more questions. Are native app experiences better than web experiences? Daniil, are you happy to take that one as well?
Well, sure. Actually, these two questions, the previous one and this one, are interlinked. So I would say it's a bit tricky, because data we've gathered from various businesses around the globe suggests that it's simply the most loyal users who are more likely to install an app. And when you're thinking about the others, like those who may be less loyal, progressive web apps can provide a great experience to web users who would never install a native app due to concerns such as storage space, or just aren't happy to install a native app right away due to, let's say, I'm likely not going to use this service or purchase from this website ever again, so why would I install anything? And just as we mentioned, PWAs offer installability. And that could be both an easy intermediate step, as one of the cases, to get users to install your native app in the end, or, just like I said, a standalone integrated native app-like experience that weighs far less than native apps, which is generally less than 1 megabyte, and built to support the long tail of different screen sizes and device capabilities. So build once, run everywhere, which is one of the superpowers of the web. One of the things that we talk about in our PWA ebook. And these are the features that make PWAs particularly important for businesses with growth ambitions in emerging markets, where data plans are expensive, storage space is limited, and like I said, there's high prevalence of low-end devices. They're much more widespread.
Okay, great. Thank you. And another question that came in was, how do I get my company excited about a progressive web app? Craig, are you happy to take that one?
Yes, I am. It's a very good question. Often we get really excited about technology and then rush into a Hangout or similar and say, hey, we should offer install, web install. What are you talking about? So one great way, or one suggestion on how to get the business excited about progressive web apps is to talk about the business value that can be brought from them. For example, growing or having an installed app user base is pretty important for a lot of businesses. And so building a case and talking to the rest of the organization about how you have a great idea to grow that install base even further to people who never would have previously installed. Does that sound like something we're interested in? That becomes a bit more appealing. So speaking in the language of the business. Another example being, the other side of it is the cost savings. Could we be even more efficient with our development by focusing the majority of our mobile development on the web as our single code base? So really think about, speaking of, what benefits you can bring to your users and then your business as well. And that'll be one way to get some excitement across the rest of the company.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we have another question from Ishan. Is there any relation of progressive web apps with Google Maps? I think Google Maps itself exists in PWA, if I'm not mistaken. But Daniil, I think maybe the question talks a little bit more about functionality. Do you mind taking that one?
Sure. Well, yes, Google Maps does exist as a PWA. And there is even a so-called Google Maps Go version for Android Go devices, which is available as a PWA from Google Play. And, well, that really is it. I mean, if there is particular functionality that you're interested in, I'm happy to take this further.
Okay, Ishan, yeah, if there is a particular question about Google Maps and PWAs regarding functionality, please drop it in the chat below, and we'll either answer it now or can follow up later. And we have another live question coming in from Vitautas. So Vitautas is planning to build a check-in system for university students to log their presence. He's asking whether geofencing with progressive web apps is possible. Martin, maybe you can take that one. Thank you.
Yeah, so right now, for all I know, it's not possible. And that was also one of those use cases which I believe were intentionally disabled for a long time because there were concerns about user tracking and privacy and all these kind of things, which are obviously very important these days. And users look out a lot for these things, right? So I think that was why it wasn't built out for a long time. But I believe one of our colleagues from the developer relations team, Tom Steiner, if you look him up, I think he's working on a new proposal to build this out, or to at least like get it within a standard premium agreed on by other browser vendors and by the public, basically. So if you search for that within our Fugu APIs and Tom Steiner, you might find a new proposal, which is at least like considered or argued about.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's all live questions we've got. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions. And now we want to ask you some questions. This is a wrap-up of our Mobile On Air series. So we wanted to get you a bit of a refresher, and we are presenting to you our Mobile On Air quiz. Yay! So there will be 5 questions, one for every week of our live streams, and there will be 6 bonus questions for our attentive users. Please write all your answers in the answer box in the same and then hit submit, so it's easier for us to find. And the authors of our best answers will receive invitations to our exclusive events and some other gifts. So we hope you're ready. Question number 1. What are the 4 principles of communication during uncertain times? So this been a while ago. Was our first week, Design and Performance for Uncertain Times, and Katya presented 4 key principles of communication during uncertain times. So try to get all 4 correct, or maybe some of them, or maybe formulate in your own words what are the 4 main principles of communication during uncertain times. I don't know. I think our speakers are also looking confused what those are. It's been a while. There's a lot of content since. Okay, hope you submitted all 4, had enough time to type them up. Now let's move on to question number 2. What percentage of shopping sessions include at least one transition between a site and an app? So Jamal talked about it in his presentation on week number 2 about great experiences across web and app. So maybe you can estimate or remember the exact number or look it up. Please drop your number. What were the percentage of shopping sessions that included at least one transition between a site and an app? We know that users switch between sites and apps all the time during their purchase journeys. And now on to question number 3. Name at least one reason senior stakeholders should care about app marketing. So there are quite a few reasons, and Tamim and Chris covered them on week number 3, but if you can just name at least one that's kind of resonated with you and stayed with you, that would be great. Hope you had time to write those down. Will be very interesting for us to see. And now on to question number 4. What are the top 6 pains for mobile shoppers across retail and travel? So Rafaela and I presented 6 pains for mobile shoppers last week. Hope you can name all 6, even in your own words, or at least maybe 5 or 4 or 3. We'll see what the best answers are. Give a little bit more time here. I think we practiced with our speakers and they could name quite a few. Okay, great. Hope you have time to write those down. And let's move on to question number 5. How do you publish your progressive web app in Google Play? So this was covered in today's presentation, so it should be quite fresh in your memory. How do you publish your PWA in Google Play? Okay, and that should be a short one. And now our bonus question. Question number 6. What's the name of Nicola's dog? So this lovely one has been our most devoted fan throughout the live streams. She watched all weeks of our live streams, and she even joined us for one of those unexpectedly. So is her name Snowflake, Lulu, Nico, and Appy? Make your guesses. And please submit your questions now, and we'll review all of them. We'll find the best answers, and we'll reach out. Our lovely elves will reach out to the people who submitted the best answers. And as I said, we'll invite you to our exclusive Meet the PM sessions, and we'll send also some maybe nice gifts to you. So please submit your questions. We hope you had time. A little reveal, Nicola's dog is actually named Lulu. Lulu, we're sending our greetings to you. We hope you're watching us. Yes, everyone. And thanks to all of us for joining us for 5 weeks. It's been a great pleasure and honor for us to present you our latest research, best practices, and tips. We hope you found those useful and insightful and learned something new from these 5 weeks. And Mobile on Air is over, but we wanted to point you to a few further events where you can learn more. If you're interested in Google Ads products and digital marketing, Digital Agility Week is starting next week on June 8th. So please go and sign up, and you'll learn a lot about digital marketing. And if you're interested in more developer content, then Web.dev Live is starting on the 30th of June, and you can sign up following the link and also meet our Chrome team and ask them some technical questions. Well, that's it from us. As usual, please do share your feedback with us. The form should appear somewhere here, and we'll also send it around. Let us know how we did today and overall. And you will be able to download the slides from today's presentation when you submit the form. We also want to let you know that we're extending the time the recordings will be available on this event site. So you have until end of June to get a little refresher or catch up on the sessions that you might have missed. And that's all from us. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great week. Thank you to all the speakers throughout the 5 weeks. Bye-bye.